fish named Upload. He was slow, couldn't cross a stream without buffering. Then Ting rode in on a unicorn made of lasers and perfectly symmetrical speeds. No saddle, just confidence. Ting said, honest, fast fiber. No contracts, no surprise fees. And handed me a shiny metaphor to drive the point home.
Winter is coming. Make sure your car is ready with Carry Car Care. Family owned and operated, they'll keep you safe on the road all season long. Give us a call at 919-380-0040 to schedule your winter service today, or visit us at carrycarcare.com. Carry Car Care. It must be right, or we'll make it right.
Hi there, and welcome to What's Up Wake.
Spend your day, it's the only way. Take a break with What's Up Wake. Ooh, What's Up Wake?
Presented by the publishers of Carry Magazine, Wake Living, and Main and Broad, What's Up Wake covers the people, places, restaurants, and events, essentially all the cool stuff and great news of Wake County. I'm your host, Melissa Wistahuff. Join me as we find out what's up Wake. Raleigh has risen to the top of the South's most talked about cities. Known for its food scene, festivals, sports, and Southern charm, Raleigh ends up on every best of list, from weekend getaway hotspots to relocation radars. Of course, we understand why Raleigh is the best place to be, but it's the job of my next guest to spread the word to the rest of the world. Today, I'm chatting with Director of Public Relations and International Tourism for Visit Raleigh, Jessica Holt. Jessica is here to tell us about the behind-the-scenes magic that happens to get people from all over the world to choose the city of Oaks over all other top destinations. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks for having me.
I am excited to chat all things Raleigh. I'm a Raleigh native, as people know at this point. I brag about Raleigh all the time, and I know that is your full-time job to brag about Raleigh. So can you tell us exactly what does Visit Raleigh do?
Yeah, so Visit Raleigh is a destination marketing organization. So we basically promote not only Raleigh, but all of Wake County to potential visitors to encourage them to come here. And that helps fuels economic growth and sustainability for our area and just bringing more business into the area. Okay,
so if that's the case, then what does success look like on your end? Because I can imagine that it's also a balancing act. Because you don't want to bring too much in, then it's kind of overwhelming to the system.
Yes.
So what does this success look like?
Yeah, of course, part of our success is growing that annual visitation number. Raleigh is still, relatively unknown to some folks, so we want to continue to show it off and inspire people to want to come here. But like you said, while still balancing and keeping our local flair, making sure that, we're not overrun by visitors. People love when they go somewhere and they find that's where the residents hang out as well. So safely growing that leisure travel, but also those meetings and conventions and sporting events here in Raleigh and Wake County.
As a sports mom myself, I often kind of think, man, I wish there were more basketball spots here, because we do play at the convention center, but really there's not a lot of basketball places to play. So hint, hint, I wish we would have a little bit more of that. Even though my kids are starting to age out of it.
That was part of the goal with the downtown Cary indoor sports complex that unfortunately that bond failed, but that was the need for more indoor venues for specifically basketball, volleyball, cheerleading, gymnastics, things like that. So it's in our 10-year destination strategic plan, but got to find another site for it.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. That was a really good location as far as like me personally, because, it's all about me
being able to drive to South Hills Mall area.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you're really about visiting Raleigh. Are you also about people relocating to Raleigh? Is that something that Visit Raleigh does as well, or is it just visitors?
So we don't put as much emphasis into relocation, but we do like to say that it starts with a visit. So usually before people relocate here, they do come as a visitor, whether they're here for work, just visiting friends and relatives, or just happen to come on vacation, and then they end up loving the area so much they decide to relocate. So we do commonly hear that from visitors, that that they end up relocating here, but that's not our primary, goal and purpose. But we love when people love the area so much that they decide to make it their home.
There are so many, particularly southern towns and cities that have great personalities, great vibes, and are known for something. What do you think makes Raleigh stand out compared to other cities?
I think Raleigh has a plethora of diverse food and restaurants, and I think that really makes us stand out compared to some other southern cities that really just focus on southern seafood, American food. We really have quite an award-winning and eclectic, diverse food scene. Because we have such a global business community here with the Research Triangle Park, and that's evolved into our food scene. And then I think also it's our free attractions, because many places you can go, but then you have to pay to get into various venues and to do certain museums or things. And Raleigh's really lucky that we have a lot of free museums and parks and outdoor nature to experience.
Yeah, I think maybe we take for granted as residents how many of those things are free. Yeah. And now that you're saying museums and everything, I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that is free. I need to be utilizing that more often. So who exactly, you kind of mentioned business travelers and sports families. Who else are you trying to attract to Raleigh? Are you looking for like regular weekend travelers, families, business, all of the above?
So Visit Raleigh really focuses on a few different segments. We have a whole sales and sports team that is really dedicated to just bringing in meetings, conventions, and sporting events here to the area. So that is their primary focus. But then on the leisure side of things, really everyone is a potential visitor for us because we have such a diverse offering in the area of whether it's the food scene, the restaurants, the museums, whatever people want to see and do, you can really fit any kind of traveler into that. So whether it's somebody solo traveling, whether it's a family, but also if it's just a group of friends that want to, get out and experience kind of more of an urban city center, then Raleigh works great for all of those groups.
In recent years, we've seen quite a big uptick with music festivals. Mm-hmm. Dreamville Festival, the Bluegrass, IMBA, is that what it was? I can't remember.
IBMA, yes. International Bluegrass Music Association.
Yes. Those have come. They're also already, both of those are leaving Raleigh as well, or have already experienced their last go in Raleigh. Are there other music festivals particularly that you guys are trying to bring to the Triangle?
Yeah, so events and festivals are a huge part of kind of our DNA here in Raleigh. Mm-hmm. People love to go to events. It's what brings a lot of people into downtown Raleigh and then across the city. But like you mentioned, in the past, we have hosted the NHL Stadium Series, which was an outdoor hockey game, which was really fun. The International Bluegrass Music Association, that actually has evolved into an event called Raleigh Wide Open, which is run by a local organization, Pinecone. They were actually the one planning the music and street festival concerts for IBMA anyway. So now they've taken over. We don't have that business conference ahead anymore, but we still have that event across Fayetteville Street in late September, early October. So the last year was the first year of it. It was a really fun event, still 4 or 5 stages of music across Fayetteville Street, food trucks, some street art vendors, and then just getting to not only experience bluegrass music, but evolving that into roots, Americana, gospel, a little bit of everything. So kind of spreading the wealth, so to say, with the music genres instead of just bluegrass. J. Cole's Dreamville Festival has concluded. They are looking at a new version to revamp of some. It won't be headlined by J. Cole. Mm-hmm. We still don't know the name of what that will be, but we are hopeful that in the coming years there is going to be another version of that kind of hip hop festival here in Raleigh as well at Dix Park. And then, you can't forget the ones like Hopscotch Music Festival. Hopscotch is an independent homegrown music festival, all kinds of indie, alternative rock, all kinds of music. And that's a really fun one that has expanded to having 2 stages in City Plaza and Moore Square, plus multiple venues through downtown that you literally hop to each venue over the 3-day week. So,
and that's only in Raleigh? I guess I thought that was kind of a traveling.
No, it started here in Raleigh and by local organizers, and it's over 10 years now that it's been going.
Nice.
So Hopscotch is a really fun one.
So what would you say is the importance of events like music festivals, sports and concerts, anything like that, to our local economy?
Yeah, I mean, having these kind of events, are not only great just for quality of life and quality of place to the residents that are here, but also because they bring in visitors to the area, which brings new money into our area. So it's great to have new people, new money coming in and flowing, learning about these different restaurants, hotels, attractions, things like that. But also it kind of helps place us on a more national and even international level. J. Cole's Dreamville Festival, there were people coming from all 50 states and I think 10 to 20 countries. So
yeah, that became a really big deal.
Yes.
An internationally known festival.
Exactly. So it really grows our international footprint while still also providing quality of life assets to the residents that are living here.
And I've had somebody on before that has talked about how it trickles all the way down the economy, because it's not just, the top hotel chains that are getting the influx of money coming in. It's all the way down to the locally owned diners and boutiques around town that people are getting the influx of money and shoppers.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we talk about it. We call them citywide events, meaning because they ripple through the city. And a lot of people don't think about, too, with those events coming in, then you're also hiring local AV teams, local setup and breakdown crews. So it's not only the jobs it's producing, but then while
I don't even think about the jobs.
Yeah, the jobs is a big component and a big part of what we push of the benefit of tourism and visitors coming here is the jobs it creates. But to your point, it's also that trickle down effect of like more people that are in downtown or in Cary or wherever on the weekend for this event. And then they have to do something in their other free time and go to restaurants, go to breweries, check out, local parks and museums, things like that.
Yeah, I think one thing that sets Raleigh apart from maybe other major cities across the United States is that we have these amazing surrounding towns. Not everybody has, a Cary, an Apex, a Morrisville, Holly Springs, all these places that can also host these events. So it's not just Raleigh that you guys are focusing on as well either, right? You said you're all of Wake County.
We cover all of Wake County. We like to say A to Z, Apex to Zebulon. So there's actually 12 municipalities in Wake County, and we represent all of those. And, things, especially right now, like the Chinese Lantern Festival at Cocoa Booth in Cary.
That's one of my favorites.
Huge event, and it's different every year, which is so stunning. But Cocoa Booth does a ton of great events throughout the year.
Yeah, they do. They really have become a hotspot for niche, cool events.
Yes, and concerts. I saw Casey Musgraves there, and just kind of being in the woods in that serene lake setting was stunning to see her perform there.
It's such a different, unique setting for a concert. So if people have not gone to Cocoa Booth for a concert, it's a definite must. We saw Billy Strings there, and Billy Strings is such a huge name now, but he still chooses to go to Cocoa Booth over probably places that he could go with a much bigger, imprint.
I believe he sold out 2, if not 3 nights at Cocoa Booth.
I think it was all 3 nights.
All 3, which is amazing. But to your point that he chooses to still go there when he could be playing in bigger venues.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's talk about my favorite subject, which is food.
Mine too.
Raleigh, like you said, has recently, really in recent years, probably maybe a decade, I'm kind of, in my mind, I'm tying it back to Scott Crawford. We give him so many flowers, and he deserves it because he kind of brought the foodie scene to Raleigh. And now we're in the news because we have some restaurants that have made the Michelin guide, which is brand new. We have never had a restaurant that has made the guide. So how has our burgeoning foodie scene brought in more visitors to Raleigh?
Yeah, we're very honored and blessed that we have so many Michelin recommended and Bib Gourmand restaurants in the new American South Guide. Both Scott Crawford with him having 3 restaurants that were recognized in the area is amazing. And then also Ashley Christensen. So it's been about 15 years, a little over 15 years since Pools first opened.
Has it been that long?
It has. And so
I feel like anytime somebody says that long and I'm thinking, well, gosh, it feels like 2 years.
I know. And so really, for her, even her Death and Taxes is coming up towards, I think, 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
So, her and Scott Crawford and a few other folks really have elevated the dining scene in the area. And we've seen many folks who even worked for one or both of them who have now opened their own restaurants and are getting recognition. But what we call it, the Michelin effect or the Michelin bump, has been really good for our area. One, to not only highlight, wonderful places to eat, as well as the Bib Gourmand places that at a more reasonable price that are still a great meal. But then also, we've heard from restaurants already that they've had a 30% increase that first weekend in guests when the Michelin Guide was announced.
Wow.
Or that they're also already hiring for front and back of house because of the Michelin bump and the effect that it's given. Reservations, tripling in numbers for a single day, things like that. So it's really not only, I think, for the residents here, but also the visitors coming has kind of put us on the next level of saying, like, we do have a really awesome food scene. We as residents always knew that, but now it gives it a little more accolade for the Michelin Guide to recognize 11 of those places as well.
Well, look who's exercising again. Good choice. Eating right, too. Another good choice. Fish, fruit, and veggies are my friends. Oatmeal is good for me, as is staying away from saturated fats. Ugh. They don't call it shortening for nothing. I mean, look at you. You've lost weight, you're back on track, you look amazing, and thanks to you, I'm looking pretty good myself. Wake Med Heart and Vascular. Your heart, your choice.
Delicious dining awaits with Apex Restaurant Week, happening February 23rd through March 1st. Discover new favorites, revisit spots you love, and enjoy fixed price menus all week long at participating restaurants. It's a celebration of the dining scene in Apex and the perfect way to love local. From $15 lunches to $30 3-course dinners, it's the best time to savor the flavors of Apex. For more details, visit apexnc.org/restaurant week.
Welcome to Podcast Carry, professional podcast studios with more than 50 shows making podcasting simple and fun. It starts right on our website. Pick a time that fits your schedule, tell us what you're working on, and we'll take care of the rest. You focus on the conversation. We handle everything else. Because starting a podcast should be fun, not complicated. Come see how easy it can be at podcastcarry.com.
I talked about how I feel like time is such a warped idea in my mind. Let's talk about the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. If someone hasn't visited Raleigh in the last 5 years, what do you think they would come to town and be surprised about?
Yeah, so I think not only in the last 5 years, we have continued to grow our food scene, obviously, and that Michelin recognition. But I also think the number of boutique and independent hotels that we have in the area has grown. And that's something that residents don't always think about, but visitors coming here really enjoy. One example, and one of my personal favorites, would be with Heights House Hotel opening. Stunning 9-room Italiante style mansion. But the fact that they also incorporated a cocktail bar called The Parlor right in the front of it. So even if you're not out of towner or guest staying there, you can still go to the Parlor cocktail bar and have a nice cocktail and feel like you're staying at this beautiful boutique hotel while you're right in Raleigh and steps away from many of the breweries, museums, and other things to do. So I think that's been a big change. And then also in the last 5 years, the growth of Dorothea Dix Park. So that has finally started to come to fruition with the Gibson Play Plaza opening and the Thomas Dambo Trolls out there. So that's been a huge change in the last 5 years. And finally, especially from my perspective with work, is the growth of our international flights. We have a record number of international flights coming into Raleigh now. We've actually gained more since the pandemic happened, which is not common for many cities. Many cities were struggling just to get back to where they were. And we're continuing to get these new international flights to places like Iceland and Frankfurt, and a new one starting in April on Aer Lingus to from Dublin to Raleigh. So the growth of the international flights and the connectivity of RDU Airport has also been a huge change in the last 5 years.
That is funny that you say that, because I think as a resident in Raleigh, I always think about, oh, that's cool, we have a direct flight to Dublin now, but we're not thinking, yeah, but it's also a direct flight to Raleigh.
Exactly. And every time I'm flying somewhere to, speak to people, tour operators, travel agents, whoever, to talk about Raleigh, then the best part is when I'm in the airport and I'm hearing people with a British or an Irish accent talking, and they're like, oh, I was just here because I work for Epic Games in Cary, and I was here for work, and now I'm going back home. So it is a lot of business travelers as well using those flights to come here to Raleigh to work.
So when you're going to go pitch Raleigh to someone who's never been here before, what's your go-to tagline or how your sales pitch to them?
So that's a great question. I would say I don't have one go-to sales pitch, and that's because our area is so eclectic and diverse that there's not just one thing that encompasses the whole area. So, it really, for me, a lot of times I'm pitching to journalists and media, so it depends on what their theme is or what they typically write about is kind of what I tailor it to. So obviously, if I'm talking to a culinary journalist, I'm talking about our Michelin restaurants and our craft beer scene and our cool underground and rooftop cocktail bars. But then if I'm talking to a sports journalist, I'm talking about how Raleigh and Cary and the surrounding area is a premier sports destination for not only professional sports like the Hurricanes, but then also youth and amateur sports and a lot of soccer events, things like that. So it can really change from journalist to journalist, but then also sometimes with a family traveler, it's talking about museums. With an outdoors traveler, it's talking about our expansive greenway system and the great parks we have. So it can change from day to day. There's not just one go-to pitch that I have for the area.
What are we most looking forward to this year, 2026? Are there new festivals or events coming to the area?
I think Raleigh at this point is really blessed to have some great events that continue to happen every year. And so those are some of the ones that I'm looking the most forward to. Things like the Krispy Kreme Challenge at NC State. In February, Art in Bloom at the Museum of Art in March.
One of my favorites.
It's beautiful.
I go every year, and every single year, I never get tired of it.
Yes.
I love that one.
And it's different every year.
Yes.
So that's the great part. Different pieces of art, different
themes.
forest themes. So definitely get your tickets early because it always sells out.
Oh, yeah. It sells out within like a day or two. Yeah.
But one thing that's kind of unique, so this will be the last full concert season with Red Hat Amphitheater in its current location. So if you want to...
Oh, that's true.
Yes, it'll be moving one block over for the expansion of the convention center. So this would be your last year to see a concert in its current or original location before it moves one block over. So that's a great thing. And then I'm going to just will into existence Hurricanes playoff hockey again this year. We've had it the past couple years, and I'm just willing it into existence that'll happen again this year.
How do you see Raleigh's tourism landscape evolving in the coming years?
It's a very exciting time for our tourism landscape in Raleigh. We have so many projects that are actually coming to fruition now. Not, as I just mentioned, the Red Hat Amphitheater moving its location one block over so that the Raleigh Convention Center can expand onto the next block and almost double its capacity for hosting meetings, events, sporting events, all that. But then we also have a new Omni Hotel, 600-room Omni that's going to come in downtown Raleigh. And that
I haven't heard about that.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a great project. Again, 600 rooms. It'll be the largest hotel that we have in downtown Raleigh.
Is it? Okay.
It's going to have a rooftop bar area, a new steakhouse in the bottom of it, lots of great amenities, just steps from the convention center, not only for hosting some bigger groups now that we'll have almost double the space in the convention center, but also for leisure travelers and those looking for a slightly more upscale experience when traveling. Omni provides a great option for that.
Yeah, and your point earlier about how we don't really think about hotels as residents here because we already have a place to stay. If we're blessed enough to have a place to stay, we don't think about that here in town, but we do have some amazing places, especially in the downtown area, but also in the Cary area. There's some great hotels there too. So
For sure. And I mean, we still constantly talk about the Umstead Hotel. It is the only 5-star, 5-diamond in the whole state of North Carolina. So that's a great selling point. But even as a resident, I highly encourage you, if you are able to go have, whether it's lunch, dinner, visit the spa there, or even have afternoon tea. It's a fun experience at the Umstead, even for local residents.
You have mentioned that you have somebody on your staff that handles the sports side of things. Do you guys have any input, information, secrets that you can give us about the whole notion of bringing a professional baseball team to Raleigh?
That bringing a professional baseball team to Raleigh is a constant conversation in our office because we all want it. We kind of sit there as a liaison that we can help provide information and statistics, but unfortunately we don't have much of a pool other than that. But, you know, it would be something that we are very eager and would love to have because it would be a great tourism asset for us.
It sure would, yeah.
So we would love it to happen. We don't know where that's going to go, but we're also just really excited about the enhancements with the Lenovo Center and the surrounding development area to continue to grow that facility with what we already have for hockey and men's basketball.
Yeah, so no big revelatory news you can give us today, I guess.
Unfortunately not.
We'll just keep holding our breaths for that announcement. So what would you say would be maybe some challenges in trying to increase tourism to our area?
I think a continued challenge for our area is the lack of public transportation.
Oh, good point.
Walkability is something that people really want when they travel, and also thinking about, you know, being more budget conscious with travel. If they can not have to rent a car while they're in a destination, that's a big benefit. So you can go to some cities and, you know, take the subway or the tube, or there's buses or trolleys that are very consistent and regular. And we just, unfortunately, that's an area that still needs some more growth and attention. We're hopeful that with the bus rapid transit, the BRT lines launching, that will help a little bit with some of that and continue to grow and just make public transportation and moving around not only the city, but also making those connections from downtown Raleigh to Cary, to the airport and things like that a lot easier for both visitors and residents.
Yeah, because I was saying earlier that we set ourselves apart because we have so many cool towns surrounding us. But to your point, and bringing in the airline discussion we were talking about, when you're flying in, it's great to have these fantastic towns around us, but how are you going to get there? So yeah,
Exactly.
that is very true. I didn't think about the flip side. You are the Director of International Tourism for Visit Raleigh, which means you get to travel the world and convince people to come to Raleigh. Where is your favorite place you've ever traveled to? And what international city have you found to be the most like Raleigh?
So that's a really tough question because I do love to travel and I love experiencing new cities. I think one of my favorites that I've ever been to were the Greek islands. Now, in Greece, and the Greek islands, stunning, beautiful. But I actually studied abroad in college at NC State and got the opportunity to go to Greece for my Parks, Recreation, Tourism Management program. And that experience really just opened my eyes to how vast and different the world can be. And, you know, it really piqued my interest in travel a lot more, but then also visiting the historic places in Greece, and then also having just relaxation in the Greek islands. So, and I'm a beach person. So, you know, that really piqued my interest.
I've never been to Greece, but the pictures I've seen, I mean, there's really nothing like it.
Oh, it looks like a screensaver. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
It's stunning, but it's a beautiful place to visit. And since then, you know, that was only my second international experience outside of going to Canada. So it really evolved my viewpoint.
You were spoiled early on.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I've been very thankful that I've had the opportunity to go to many different cities across the world. And I think the one that I would compare the most to Raleigh would be Dublin, actually, which is great timing with our new flight.
Yeah.
But I went to Dublin in 2017, and it's just something about the people there and the vibe that when people come to visit Raleigh, they're like, everyone's so welcoming and friendly and genuinely just wants to talk to you and know about you and why you're there. And I got that same feeling in Dublin. So, and the residents in Ireland too, also, they're huge fans of just eating and drinking and chatting with people. And I think that's really, correlates really well to Raleigh residents as well. We love to go have a great meal, have a craft beer somewhere, and just chit chat with whoever's around and get to know them and understand why they're there. So I think Dublin is very similar in that sense. And then also thinking about the colleges and universities there and the outdoor experiences if you travel across the country can be related to Raleigh and our surrounding areas as well.
I do think we take a little bit for granted the fact that people are nice here because it's not always the case around the world.
No.
So it's good to know that people in Dublin are nice. Okay, it's time for our What's Up Roundup, where I shoot out some lightning round series of questions. And I did warn you ahead of time that I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I know that someone in your position, you're not supposed to name favorites, but you're going to have to, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm going to get you in a little bit of trouble. Okay, what is your go-to restaurant to take an out-of-town guest?
Stanberry. Definitely.
Never been to Stanberry.
Phenomenal.
Okay.
Stanberry is my go-to. It also got recognized in the Michelin as a recommended restaurant, but Stanberry is one of my favorites. They don't take reservations, so that's the key to know. You do have to just show up and wait. But if it was somewhere that I had to make reservations for, making sure the whole family's taken care of and all, then it would probably be Brodetto, one of Scott Crawford's restaurants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's hard to beat one of those. Okay. What is one spot in Raleigh that you think deserves more attention? Because we so often talk about Dick's Park and places like that. But if you could choose one spot that you think is maybe the next Dick's Park.
Oh, that's a good one. Attraction-wise, for me, the museum park is my go-to. I think that area, it's known and it's continued to grow, but with the outdoor exhibits there, being able to do paved and unpaved trails, walking, biking, picnicking, whatever, it's continued to grow. And then the museum does great about putting fun pop-up exhibits in the museum park, so it can change from day to day. So I think that's always a great one to take people to, but also I think kind of more of an unexpected one that people maybe don't know about as much would be Robertson Mill Pond Preserve in Wendell. So that you can go and kayak there and it literally looks like swamp area, Great Dismal Swamp, that kind of thing. And so that's a really fun experience that I think even a lot of residents don't know about, that could kind of be the next big thing growing if they did more activations there with kayak rentals and canoe rentals and maybe some other things. But I definitely recommend kind of as a hidden gem to pop out there.
That is a great idea. Yeah, such a unique place, especially for our area, because it does look like we're, in the middle of Florida, like an alligator head is going to pop out or something. What is one word you would use to describe Raleigh right now? I know you said earlier it's kind of hard to put Raleigh in a box, but if you had to use one word to describe Raleigh, what would you say?
I think my one word right now for Raleigh would be innovative. I think Raleigh continues to just grow and change, but also trying to be smart about that change while also maintaining what is Raleigh with the local businesses. 90% of our downtown is the restaurants and retail are locally owned. Half that are women and minority owned. So trying to keep that framework of local business while also smartly growing and expanding convention center, Lenovo center enhancements, things like that, kind of that innovation and how we can work smarter, not harder across the area.
Yeah, I do think it is a very nearly impossible balance to find, leaving some of the history and what makes Raleigh have our own personality that's kind of always been there, but adding in all the new shiny stuff. I think it is a very, very tricky balance. Okay, what is one place that always impresses visitors that come to Raleigh?
I would say Attraction-wise, one place that always impresses visitors is the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. I've always loved the museum since I was a kid and went to the museum here, coming from out of town. But then now with the dueling dinosaurs exhibit at the museum, and they've just named the dinosaurs Murphy and Manteo, which is very representative of the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fun thing. But having that open air paleontology lab there at the museum with the dueling dinosaurs and getting to like talk to a paleontologist and find out what they're doing and what they're unearthing, I think is really fun and cool for not only kids, but, you know, kids at heart too, like me. So,
Absolutely.
I love to do a good date night or date afternoon and, you know, go to the museum, explore for a couple hours, maybe go have a cocktail and dessert at Bittersweet, and then go have dinner somewhere downtown.
That's another great one. Very good. I thought I was going to throw you, and I didn't.
Nope.
No, you've been around.
be harder
You've been
than
around
that.
the block a few times.
Yeah. over 12 years in this job will do that.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
Pretty much got an answer for most places. And I love going out and exploring all the new stuff that we have in the area too.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're excited about everything that is coming this year in Raleigh and all the surrounding towns, like you said, from Apex to Zebulon.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to What's Up Wake with Melissa Wistahuff, presented by the publishers of Cary Magazine, Wake Living, and Main and Broad. Follow them on social media at Cary Magazine NC, at MB Magazine NC, and at Wake Living Magazine. Visit each magazine's website at carymagazine.com, mainandbroadmag.com, and wakeliving.com to check out the latest digital edition of each magazine and find pickup locations. Be sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review to help others find us. Music provided by Angie Bagley and Chris Bagley. This show is produced by Podcast Cary.